All around the world, you can find teens who write books in their free time. My name is Meltori Franca, and I happen to be one of them. Although writing isn't necessarily a common hobby, the internet brings us together. Today, I've connected with 10 published teen authors online to share their experiences. Let's hear what they have to say. So my very first question for you is, what inspired you to become a writer?
At about the age of 12 or maybe 13, I was going into the YA section of the bookstore, and I found that there was a lot of really dark and depressing novels, the sort of things that drag you down. And for me, as a teenager, I wanted to be reading something that was more inspirational and uplifting, something that made me feel stronger than I was before I started reading it.
When I wrote my book, The Anomaly of Ellen Chen, I did not have the goal to publish the book. I just wanted to write a book and show myself mostly that I could do it and I could achieve something like that at a young age.
So I had this idea and I had this composition notebook and I just went for it, and 4 years later that became The Knowers and I published it.
I started when I was like 5 or 6 or 7 or so, and the first stories I wrote were like Donald Duck fan fiction, so I have to say Donald Duck comics, but it was like I wrote like actual text.
I'd been blogging for years, and publishing a book just was a culmination of all that I had done in my writing journey.
I can remember when I was about 3, whispering stories under the cover to myself at night.
It's like my home, it's my therapy. I feel like I can be myself, just fully myself in any way, shape, or form. I just love writing, and I would never trade it for anything else in the world.
What are some of the challenges you face as a teen author? Do you sometimes feel different for having more of an abstract hobby compared to most teens?
Sometimes I feel like people don't think that I'm a real author, or that I am as qualified as other people might be.
It's definitely like adults telling you that you won't be able to make it as a writer, or just saying that you're not a writer because you're a teen. Your age has nothing to do with writing. Writing can be for anybody, and your age doesn't define who and what you write.
One of the challenges that I find myself facing a lot is just feeling like this is my job, or that I have this huge responsibility to be successful when I don't. That's the great part about being a teenage author, is that it's not your job, and it's okay to completely crash and burn because you're probably still living with your parents, they pay the bills, there's no pressure for you to succeed the first time.
Your work is kind of underestimated. We don't have the same degrees and the same training as a lot of adult authors do, so people are more reluctant to pick up our work because they aren't sure it's going to be good.
Writing is definitely a different hobby than what most of my friends choose. They're usually playing sports and doing anything but writing, so it's kind of hard for them to relate to me in that aspect.
I think writing is a very lonely hobby. It definitely was for me for a long time before I got published. Now that I have gotten published, it's not quite as lonely as before, simply because I actually have readers who are reading my work. So for all the teens out there who feel very, very alone in like, oh, this hobby of writing, no one understands it, it does get better, I promise you. If you go through and you publish it, or even if you just let other people read it, you will start to feel a lot less alone.
Definitely being a teen author is something that sets me apart from a lot of my friends and a lot of other teens. You know, it's not something that's common, it's something that makes me unique, but it's nothing that really makes me any more special than anyone else, because everyone has their own unique gifts and their own unique talents.
As many of you guys know, we have to do a lot of things on our own, like marketing, editing, cover designing. I wrote it, I edited it, I designed the cover actually, and I published it.
The publishing process is definitely harder than the writing process, in my opinion. And I noticed that in publishing my last book, Weird Part, available on Amazon now if you want to go check it out, that I had to resubmit it multiple times. If I need to work on something in the publishing process, like working on my cover or working on details or writing a summary, a blog post about something, I definitely have to set it part-time.
Nothing is easy in this industry, but you can definitely make it happen if you have the right mindset.
How do you manage to find the time to balance writing, school, social life, family, other hobbies, etc.?
The first thing I do is I try to remember okay to not be fast. You don't need to be spitting out books every 2 months like some authors do, because number one, that's just not realistic at all. And number two, you don't have to do that because this is not your job and you're not trying to make money to support yourself, which again is the great thing about being a teen author. So it's okay if it takes you a while, and it's okay if you have to take some long breaks to study for tests and things like that. But another tip I would have is just to wake up earlier and write first thing in the morning to make sure you get it done. This has helped me a ton.
Managing my time with writing has definitely been a tough thing. I always my writing requires a lot of research behind it because I write science fiction, Control Freak series of dystopian, post-apocalyptic novels, and it's sometimes hard for me to find time to write, but for me, I make a set schedule for myself and I'm really strict with it. I don't do word count. I don't like focus on writing 1,000 words a day. When I'm writing, I just focus on writing for an hour each day. I set aside an hour after school from 4 to 5, and usually I'm able to fit in time, at least a couple hours to write every weekend.
You have to make sure that you make the time to write, because you could say, I'm too busy, I have so much going on in my life that I don't have any spare time to write. I don't feel quite right if I'm not writing, if that makes sense. Like, I don't feel myself.
I'm really bad at time management, given that I'm also a student in high school and I have to commit 8 hours a day to school, and I also try to maintain my own health and my own personal life, and on top of that I have writing, which is really important to me, but you know, it all doesn't always make it into the day. I write when I get up, I write in geometry, I write during study hall, I write before I go to sleep, and there's still not enough time.
It definitely is difficult to find time to write, but I usually write at home after I do my homework at night, or usually on the weekends.
For me, I'm homeschooled, so I think it's probably easier for me to balance school and writing than it would be for a public schooler, simply because I can decide when I do my schoolwork rather than having to sit in a classroom 8 hours a day. And I can decide, oh, I want to do my schoolwork in the morning and I do my writing in the afternoons.
I'm involved in extracurriculars, I'm involved in school, public school. Sometimes it gets hard to write, especially with a busy schedule, but I found that I'm pretty good at time management, and if I want to do something, I will definitely make the time to do it.
I am not the person to talk to about balancing your schedule. I pretty much write instead of sleeping. I am in a very competitive school. I'll write nights that I don't have a lot of homework. I'll write to come down from a day of doing a lot of homework, which will be at like 1 a.m. So I don't really know how to balance a schedule. If you guys know, I would love if you told me.
It's definitely difficult. You have to learn to be flexible, especially as a teen when you don't necessarily control your schedule. You have to mold to a family schedule, to school, and those aren't things that you choose. Those are things that are just part of life. Even when it's been a long day, I still will sit down to write, or even though I'm crazy busy, that's something that I always make fit into my schedule because I've made it a priority.
My final question for you is, what advice do you have for teens looking to pursue their hobbies on a more professional level, whether it be writing or something else?
If you are someone who wants to write and get their work out there, or if you are someone who's aspiring to be an entrepreneur in something else, if you have a specific hobby that you really enjoy and you want to become an entrepreneur and be successful in the business of your specific hobby, I think that you should go for it.
Go for it, don't give up, because people will give you attitude about you writing, but I wouldn't really take it seriously because they are just jealous that you have the ability to write a book and they don't. Drops mic.
Instead of thinking, hopefully this will happen, or I can do this, say, I will do this. I will publish that book. I will do my best. It is going to be a good book.
Keep going. Don't give up and keep practicing. And right now it might not seem very glamorous and it might not seem very exciting, but for me those 6 years of blogging were really the launching pad into this, my published book. If you want to do something more seriously, just keep practicing. Make it a priority and don't give up. And eventually it'll pay off.
A lot of people who are successful in whatever it is that they do have started at a young age because they're not afraid to put themselves out there. They're not afraid to follow that passion despite how old they may be.
My advice to young and upcoming authors is to never give up. It may not be easy, but it's worth the work. And I would definitely say do it now. You don't wait, because sometimes later becomes never.
We always say, like when we're little kids, when I grow up I want to do this, and you don't have to wait. Like, we are in a really unique position, especially as authors, where we can do what we want to do with very little training. If you have a story to tell, you don't need a lot of people to tell you how to tell it.
What I really recommend is starting to follow your passion as soon as you recognize it, because you're lucky that you know your passion. There's so many people who don't know their passion, and if you don't know your passion, that's okay too. Go explore, go find things. You're young, you have time. You have time, you have so much time. There's no rush in this world. The only rush is to be happy before you die, and you can be happy tomorrow by doing what you love. If you go in with the boundless mindset of knowing that as long as you knock all barriers down to your success in your mind, that anything truly is possible, then I know it'll come true for you.
I would like to thank all of the amazing teen authors who participated in this video. It's turned out to be an awesome project. The link to their books and social media profiles will be in the description below, so please check them out and send them some support. Also, I'm considering doing more videos in this style or sort of related to this topic, so if you found this at all interesting, please give it a like and comment below. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.